Boom. Hey, folks. Hello, and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. We got some recaps, and I've got some failed grifting. I set up a pre-grift that's going to run out at 136, 135. Um, I made another video of Potter because somebody was saying you talk about Zora on Twitter more than Potter, and I was like, all right, we're going to make some Potter swoops then. It's actually kind of funny because it's now getting into Zora's season. Potter really loves the cold, and up until just now, we had snow outside. We no longer have snow outside. Now we've got dirt and dog poop. We got to deal with the dog poop, but the grass has yet to come in. So what? Potter, when it starts to get warm, he is not as much a fan of like outside as when it's really cold. Zora, on the other hand, is loving it. She was earlier just running back and forth in the backyard, and it was super cute because she was just like, hell on legs. She was just running, having a great old time. So, all right. And I am, as is tradition, bleeding only a little bit. So yesterday we had, day 3 of the trial, and today we had day 4. And so at the end of day 3, I was like, nothing much happened. Do I bother with a recap, or do I combine it? And the general consensus was, hey, let's combine them and do a joined stream. And then today, nothing much happened. We're going to talk about the nothing. We're going to talk about the parts of the nothing that were sort of something. But I saw some streams, and this is not a call out, but I saw some streams that were like fireworks in Karen Reed trial, and I was like, which one? Which one are you watching? I thought it was mostly swing and a miss. There were a few moments of excitement, but mostly it was swing and a miss for both sides. So let's talk about it. Let's discuss that. Runkle, why do you say you're bleeding? Because I shaved and I am bleeding. Not much, but I am minorly bleeding. All right, so let's have a watch on this one. Let's and also I'll just can we make a boom emoji? Yeah, I think I can make a boom emoji. So the other thing we're gonna do is after this, I'm gonna send everyone over to Rob's stream, which is the Friday Night Frenzy. I will probably pop in there and we'll go from there. But all right, let's jump in, and we're going to start with yesterday. So if you're wondering and you're going, wait a minute, this was yesterday. Yes, that is correct. That is what we're doing here. So yeah, just so everyone's aware, following along, we're going to start in on yesterday, and then we're going to catch up, and it's going to be fairly quick. Yeah, I see somebody in the chat mentioning one of the most interesting things that happened. So, yeah. Ian, I'm from a small village in Ireland. My local GP is Canadian. We had a great chat about frozen dog poo, courtesy of your old grad self. Okay, that is pretty awesome. And I got to roll this. Thank you, Sandy, for the 50 gifted memberships. Really appreciated. Much appreciated. All right. So we got an hour and a half. We got an hour and a half to get this done. All right. Let's rock and roll here. We're going to share a screen. We're going to pull up. Here we go. Also, a little status update. My Supreme Court leave application is almost ready to file, so it should be getting filed. Next week. And once it's filed and served, we can go over it together, and we can do that. So yeah, Supreme Court leave application. We can do that as a video. So here we go. Let me know if you guys can't hear it.
22117 Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
Oh, so I was told council wanted to see me.
I watch at 1.75, but we watch at 1.25.
Good morning, Your Honor. Yes,
Good morning.
I just have one brief issue on today's for the court.
Okay.
I wanted to confirm whether experts in this case are permitted to watch testimony in order to prepare for rebuttal. It asked for that
For rebuttal, like post
responding,
for responding. Okay.
in our case, for both sides.
Okay. What's your position, Ms. Little? You want to?
Yes, we do.
All right. Mr. Brennan, is there any reason not to?
I need to give it some thought. I'm not willing to agree. I'll abide by whatever the court thinks is fair.
So why don't
So what we got here is we got the rare psi aimed at Brennan. We got the rare psi aimed at, usually when we get the Judge Cannone psi, it is aimed at the defense. But in this case, she gave the psi to Brennan. What are they asking here? What defense is saying is, listen, we want to have our experts sit in on the testimony so that we can watch what they say and so that they can rebut it, right? So that they can, when it's their turn to testify, they can say, listen, why do you think the prosecution expert is wrong? Well, I heard what they had to say, and here's why it's BS. And this is actually really common. Normally, this is pretty straightforward. Experts are not normally subject to the limits on, witness exclusion. This is customary. This is ordinary. You saw this, for instance, if you watch the Depp trial. You saw this, right? I watched the other experts. And Brennan is like, we're not going to agree, and Judge Cannone is like, and you know what? I am with Judge Cannone on this one.
position, Ms. Little? You want to?
Yes, we do.
All right. Mr. Brennan, is there any reason not to?
I need to give it some thought. I'm not willing to agree. I'll abide by whatever.
That was my feeling too, Judge. I'm with you on that sigh. That sigh, I felt that sigh too. So yep. Brennan is just being a wanker here. That's all that comes down
The
to.
court thinks is fair.
So why don't you think about it? We'll address it later today. Okay. There's no expert testimony today, right?
It's not.
Thank you.
All right. Sure. Is that it? Ready to bring the jury in? You wanted a ruling on the clip from yesterday?
I did.
All right. You can play it.
Thank you.
All right. So
Did you catch that clip that was that they wanted to play that has really no benefit other than just making Karen Reed look bad? They get to play it. So if you had hope that they were gonna, not do that, well, you can keep hoping. So we got this guy. I'm trying to remember his name. Whitley. Whitley's coming back in. Here we go.
Sir, I'll remind you, you're still under oath. Thank you.
KLB, that's not going to happen here. We're not doing that.
yes.
Yesterday.
I just see that some comments were thrown in another chat. I'm not throwing aspersions at the other person, but nobody is doing that shit in my chat. We are not going to be, no. And especially not with like ableist, bigoted slurs. Just no.
You testified that when Karen Reed was brought to the hospital, she didn't want to get into a hospital Johnny and she didn't want to give a urine sample. Do you recall that testimony?
I do.
It was clear to you that her reluctance to cooperate at that time was because she very much wanted to check on John's progress and status at the hospital, correct?
No, I don't believe that to be the case.
Well, you testified before the grand jury regarding this matter 3 years ago, didn't you?
I don't believe I said that she was.
This cross-examination starts out spicy. And if you're hearing the term Johnny, and you're wondering what a Johnny is a hospital gown. That's all that is. So, if you're wondering, like, why would somebody not want to wear one? I don't want to wear one every time I've been to a hospital. They suck. There is nothing good about wearing one of these. If they'd let me wear like street clothes at the hospital, I would absolutely wear street clothes at the hospital. But like when and this is the other thing about slang. A Johnny is a very different thing if you're in the UK. Like a hospital gown is open at the back. And so if you've ever had a really wonderful experience of being at the hospital and you sit down on something and suddenly you feel like your butt is on a thing that a whole bunch of other people's butts have been on, you would understand why you wouldn't want to be in one of those things, right? They're not pleasant. And I mean, I'm a guy. I'm maybe a little less concerned about if somebody sees my butt than Karen Reed might be. But we're going to hear some other bits about why she might not have wanted to give a urine sample. And so I'm just going to note here, the prosecution wants to suggest that Karen Reed didn't want to give a urine sample because she knew it was going to show that she's got a whole bunch of alcohol in her blood and that it's a consciousness of guilt thing, right? She doesn't want to give the urine sample because it's going to help convict her. That's the prosecution's theory. The defense has a different explanation for why she wouldn't have wanted to give a urine sample. And I'm just going to say, I'm not the most qualified to evaluate her argument. I think it's a good one, but I might not be the person to... let's just put it this way. If I was on the jury and this came up, I would defer to the female jurors about whether or not this made sense. And I suspect that the female jurors would tell me, yeah, that makes sense. But I would defer because this is not a place where I am going to pretend that I am the freaking expert. Also, please like this stream if you want to, or, if you're enjoying it. I'm going to set up a new goal because this one expired. We're going to set it for teal for the new Potter's Whoop. All right, here we go.
I didn't ask you that question. You testified before the grand jury 3 years ago, didn't you?
I testified before the grand jury 3 years ago.
You were under oath then, as you're under oath today, correct?
Correct.
I also just want to go right here.
Correct?
No, I don't believe that to be the case.
Well, you testified before the grand jury regarding this matter 3 years ago, didn't you?
I don't believe I said that she was.
I didn't ask you that question.
Let's watch this again. We're going to take it down to 1 speed. And I want to show you just what he's doing. I want you to just observe this for the artistry of it. We're just going to watch somebody doing a skills thing, and we're going to talk about the skill in it.
For the grand jury regarding this matter 3 years ago, didn't you?
I don't believe I said that she was.
I didn't ask you that question. You testified before the grand jury.
This is good work from Yannetti. That was an excellent. I want to take that little piece and show it to law students. Let's sort of watch it again here, just because this is an important trial skill that we see demonstrated just kind of casually.
didn't want to give a urine sample. Do you recall that testimony?
I do.
It was clear to you that her reluctance to cooperate at that time was because she very much wanted to check on John's progress and status at the hospital, correct?
No, I don't believe that to be the case.
Well, you testified before the grand jury regarding this matter 3 years ago, didn't you?
I don't believe I said that she was
I
reluctant.
didn't ask you that question. You testified before the grand jury 3 years ago, didn't you?
So what's happening here is he's asking a very simple question. Did you or did you not testify before a grand jury 3 years ago? And he is like, I want to weasel my way into answering the question you didn't ask. This is what happens when you've got a witness who wants to hurt your client, because he's trying to get to the answer he wants to get to. And Yannetti very smoothly goes, I didn't ask you that. I asked you whether or not you test. And so he cuts him off and he keeps that answer out. And this is an important cross-examination skill. You know, I asked you a question. I'm not inviting you to just, you know, bullshit up whatever you want to talk about. This is not your free time, sir. This is my time. So you do what I tells you.
I testified before the grand jury 3 years ago.
You were under oath then, as you're under oath today, correct?
Correct.
You swore to tell the truth.
I am telling the truth.
You swore to tell the truth in 2022 before the grand jury, did you not?
I did.
That was less than 3 months after you brought Karen Reed to the hospital, didn't you?
Yeah.
And your memory of what happened at the hospital was very good in April of 2022, right?
As good as today.
Your memory in April of 2022 was very good, wasn't it?
It was very good as it is today.
Okay, so you want to add the as it is today, despite the fact that you weren't asked that question. Is that right?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right.
Objection. Doesn't matter. The jury heard it. Now, somebody said this guy's a first responder. He should be on team neutral, right? Wrong. You know, this guy should be neutral, right? Wrongzo. Absolutely wrong. The reason why is that first responders all see themselves as being on a team. And when they are when they feel like they're on a team, and you might be wondering, why do the first responders feel like they're on a team? This guy's a paramedic. Why would he feel like he's on team cop? Well, the reason why he would feel like he's on team cop is, think about what being a paramedic involves sometimes. Sometimes you get out there and like you have you show up for a stabbing victim, and the first thing the stabbing victim does is swing on you, right? And then who comes to save your butt? Who comes to save your butt when the guy swings on you? It's the cops. And so the paramedics are very much aware that they don't want to piss off the cops, because if they piss off the cops, well, cops have some things they do and some things they threaten. And if you've ever talked to a guy who bailed on the police because you get people who quit because they like reported on a fellow officer, and the cops will say things like, you know, to each other, they'll say things like, well, maybe I just don't show up if you have a backup call. You better believe that they think about that sort of thing. And so they end up, you know, you end up with team issues. It becomes a problem. So, yeah.
When questioned by Mr. Lally at the grand jury, you were asked the following question. So what, if any, interaction did you have with her, meaning Ms. Reed, at the hospital once you were there? You remember that question, right?
I do.
And your answer was, after that, I helped escort her down to, they call it the psych hallway, where they have rooms set up for psychiatric patients for their evaluation. And then she was unhappy that she wasn't able to see him, meaning John. And she kept trying to. She didn't want to get into a hospital Johnny. She didn't want to, I believe, give a urine sample. She was not, the nurses were asking her to do certain things that every patient has to do, and she was not cooperating with them. Do you remember that answer?
I do.
So at the grand jury, what is his answer? His answer is she doesn't want to give the urine sample and she doesn't want to get into the Johnny because she's worried about John O'Keefe. She's concerned for his safety. She wants to find out if he's okay. She's upset that she's been sectioned. And she's like, I don't want to be at the mental hospital. I want to be finding out if John O'Keefe is okay. But now his testimony has changed. And now he's saying she didn't want to do it because she was sketchy. Yeah. This is, I think, a very good cross-examination, although perhaps a little too hostile too fast. I think Yannetti gets to hostility before the jury does, and I generally think you should slow play that, but that's just a style thing. Lazarus says, Ruckle, you might watch at 1.25, but when I watch you, if possible, I watch at 2 times speed. Lol, also just finished my first week of work as a lawyer. Awesome. Congratulations. I hope it's going awesome. And we're going to roll this. Marvin CZ says, I'm stressed out by the trial, but I don't want to miss Ruckle, so here I am. I am also feeling stressed out by this trial, to be honest. This trial is making me tense. My back today is hurting so badly, and I think part of it is that I was spending my entire day clenched up like a little, snarky fist. So, yeah.
So 3 years ago, when you testified about this issue of giving a urine sample, you testified under oath that you believed that she didn't want to give a urine sample, correct?
Correct.
Yesterday, 3 years later, you testified with certainty that she didn't want to give them, right?
Yeah, she was giving them a hard time about having to give a urine sample.
Right. No, I'm asking you about your testimony yesterday in contrast to the grand jury, sir. To the extent that I ask yes or no question, I'd like yes or no answers.
So
okay?
no instructions to the witness, Mr.
You
Yannetti.
want
Ask
me
a
to be
question.
instructed to answer the question yes or no if it calls for a yes or no question. Answer.
Answer the question that's asked of you. Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead, ask.
She's like, Yannetti, you don't give instructions to the witness. And he's like, yeah, that's your job, Judge. Did you want to do your job and tell him not to, tell him to actually answer the questions? And she's like, yeah, you are actually kind of being a Weasley little shit, so stop it. She's like, please stop it. And he's like, okay, come on. This is a Weasley witness. But now, one thing I will note is that the certainty jump is very, very common. It's super, over time, your memory for things that you are uncertain of actually tends to, you forget the uncertainty. So what I mean by that is, let's say you see somebody and it's dark, right? It is, it's pitch black. It's the middle of the night. It's raining. And, you see a person and they commit a crime. I don't know. You see them engage in tax fraud. Just to pick a crime that nobody's going to care too much about unless you happen to be the government, in which case watch somebody else's stream if you're the government. Anyway, so you see a guy committing tax fraud in the dark, and and I don't know how you figure out that he's committing tax fraud in the dark, but okay. And you're asked to do a lineup, right? They bring you in and they do a lineup, and your answer at the time is, I think it's this guy. And they say, how sure are you? And you go, 60%. I am 60% sure it's this guy. And they go, okay, good enough for us, 60%. At trial, I can virtually guarantee that witness, and, we'll call him Bob just to have a Bob who isn't a murderer or a murderee. That witness, Bob, when he gets to trial, he's not going to say that he is now 60% confident. And you might say, no, because all this time has gone by, and so he's got to be less confident. He's got to be like 40% confident, right? No. He's going to walk in at trial, and he's going to say he is 100%. He's going to come in and be like, I have never been more sure in my life. That guy, that dude right there. And that's just part of it. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean somebody is a liar. One of the questions I've seen all over Twitter today, and in fact in some other chats that I've popped into, is people saying, can people be charged with perjury? Because it's clear there are some differences between Mr. Whitley's testimony versus Mr. Whitley's testimony before. And the answer to that is almost certainly no. It is very, very difficult to prosecute somebody for perjury, because you need to prove, in order to prove perjury, you have to prove that they lied in court intentionally beyond a reasonable doubt, which means you have to exclude things like that this guy might just have a crap memory. Perjury is extremely difficult to convict on, and they almost never proceed on it. Even I've seen cases where witnesses have acknowledged intentional lying under oath, and they still don't get prosecuted for perjury because it's real hard to get a perjury conviction. So,
Good question.
yeah, and also,
You testified yesterday
government's not going to come after this guy because this guy's their friend.
that she didn't want to give a urine sample without saying it was your belief that she didn't want to give one, correct?
Correct.
In any case, were you aware that when she was asked to give a urine sample, that Ms. Reed had gotten her period and did not have a tampon?
I was aware she was on her period, yes.
You're also aware that when somebody is brought to the hospital for a Section 12, they have no privacy. Isn't that right?
They have medical privacy. Either the tech or the nurse would be with the patient at all times.
Okay. With them at all times, observing them at all times, correct?
So they wouldn't be, she wasn't in like a hallway open to the public.
They have medical privacy. She's not like on screen. They don't like, welcome to your Section 12. We're going to start you up an OnlyFans account for you to, pee in a cup for. Yes, okay. But most of us don't like peeing when somebody else is watching. That's a very common thing, right? That you don't like peeing when somebody else is watching. And so this guy's like, she's got medical privacy. It's only a doctor watching. It's like, he wasn't asking, is she like, on the stand peeing? It's just, she's not alone, right? And she's on her period. It's going to be creepy. It's going to be weird. It's going to be unpleasant. I mean, especially if this dude is watching, but I suspect that they're actually getting a female nurse. And hopefully the female nurse doesn't look exactly like this, because this seems to be a popular Canton look. But, yeah.
Privacy. Isn't that right?
They have medical privacy. Either the tech or the nurse would be with the patient at all times.
Okay. With them at all times, observing them at all times, correct?
So they wouldn't be, she wasn't in like a hallway open to the public.
Understood, sir. But she also, when I said privacy.
I'm just going to go back, and we're going to listen to this at one speed, because this needs to be, we need to be able to hear the tone properly.
Or the nurse would be with the patient at all times.
Okay. With them at all times, observing them at all times, correct?
So they wouldn't be, she wasn't in like a hallway open to the public.
Understood, sir. But she also, when I said privacy, what I was asking is, she was not allowed to go to the bathroom alone to give a urine sample, correct?
She was a psychiatric.
Listen to the tone, because he is a master of tone. You know, understood, sir. I cannot pack that much contempt into a response ever.
When I said privacy,
Open to the public.
understood, sir, but she also, when I said privacy, what I was asking is, she was not allowed to go to the bathroom alone to give a urine sample, correct?
She was a psychiatric patient.
Right.
I mean, I had somebody throw a brick at me at one point, and that was less less harmful than the understood, sir. And I owe you guys a couple of things here. So the first one we'll play is this one. Thank you so much, Shay B, coming in hot with the 50 gifted memberships. Much appreciated. The next one I got to roll is going to be this one. Joey Jones Donnelly, thanks for such humorous analysis. I can't watch this all day this time. I thought it's because of everything going on that I felt stressed. You're the best. This is a stressful one. This is a stressful one. I'm having a hard time watching it at times. And so the next thing we're going to play is we hit a goal. So I owe you guys the new Potter bumper. And you guys could tell me what you think of it and so forth. So this is the new Potter bumper, which I have named. The file name is Potter Eyebrows. I love the eyebrows that he's got going on. That might be a little loud. I might have to turn that down, but the eyebrows are such a thing there. So the story on that one is just to tell you a little bit about Potter and how sweet he is. Somebody sent me an elf. That toy that he's got is a little elf Potter toy. Potter, in this video, I just tried to encourage Potter to play tug with this toy, and he wouldn't. When I tried to tug the elf, he let go of the elf so that, he's like, we're not pulling on this. So then I gave it back to him, and he was suspicious that I might try to take it from him again. But he is so gentle with this thing. He's had this for months. Months he's had this toy. And I just want you to note one thing. I saw somebody saying that they missed it, so we'll play it again. And I just want you to note, what do you see on this elf toy? The elf toy still has the tag on it. He has been so gentle on this thing that he has not even lost the tag. And Potter doesn't like it if I take the tags off his toys, because at least if he can see it, because he's like, why are you damaging the toy? Why are you damaging my thing? And somebody says, how does he protect it from Zora? If Zora goes to try to chew on one of his toys, he will go and pick it up and take it away from Zora and be like, no, we're not doing that. So he's had this toy for months and months and months, and it's still 100% intact. So yeah, that one is going into the swoop rotation there. So all right, let's keep going here, because we're gonna watch a little bit of this guy before we jump ahead. But this cross is good. This cross is excellent.
So she would have to use the bathroom in front of hospital personnel or some medical personnel with people watching her while she was on her period with no tampon, correct?
I would understand that to be true.
All right. And you're aware that she did cooperate and eventually give a blood sample as well, correct?
I'm not aware of a blood sample, but urine sample, yes.
She did give the urine sample.
Correct.
Now, in your testimony yesterday,
He's like, you were saying she's being so resistant because the prosecution's going to say she was not wanting to give the urine sample because she feels guilty. And here it's like, no, she doesn't want to give the urine sample because she's got a very good reason not to. She's not comfortable with it. She's not, it's not fun for her. And she did eventually give one, but it was a shitty experience.
You discussed the topic of your memory of what Karen Reed may have asked you about John surviving in the snow with light clothing. You remember those questions?
I remember asking about it not having a jacket, correct?
Now, starting at the end of the day, when I cross-examined you yesterday, I asked you about that topic, and I said to you, you mentioned something about hypothermia, that you assumed you may have been dealing with a hypothermia situation. And your answer was, well, she said that he had been out in the snow without a jacket for many hours, correct?
Correct.
But before I cross-examined you at the end of the day yesterday, you previously testified 3 times about this topic, correct?
I believe it would be the grand jury and the previous trial.
Right, and direct exam.
Nexus, we are not gonna. I cannot agree with this particular body shaming, and the reason why is because this is grossly unfair to Bert. Bert did nothing wrong. Why are you being so mean to Bert?
Examination when Mr. Brennan was asking you questions before I stood up, correct?
Okay, yes.
Let's start with the first time you testified about this topic back in 2022. That was, again, less than 3 months.
We do not
after
body
you
shame
had a
Bert.
conversation with Ms. Reed at the scene on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Her statements and questions to you at the scene were fresh in your mind in April of 2022, correct?
Correct.
In April of 2022, before the grand jury, Mr. Lally asked you, quote, what, if any, questions did she ask you regarding hypothermia? Do you remember that question?
I do.
Your answer was, she was just wondering if he could have survived outside in the cold, even though he didn't have a jacket on. Do you remember giving that answer?
I do.
Nowhere in that answer, in 2022, less than 3 months after these events, do you attribute the words, quote, many hours, end quote, in the snow to Ms. Reed, correct?
Yes, I was not.
I'm not asking for an explanation, sir. I'm asking for an answer.
All right, so he was answering you, Mr.
My
Yannetti.
question called for a yes or no answer. Nowhere in your answer in 2022 do you attribute the words many hours in the snow to Ms. Reed, yes or no?
No, I did not say that at that point.
Nowhere in your answer in 2022 do you testify that Ms. Reed told you he had actually been in the snow for many hours, correct?
She did. At that.
Sir, I'm asking you about your testimony.
So let him answer the question.
Let me ask it again. Nowhere in your answer in 2022 did you testify that Ms. Reed told you he had actually been in the snow for many hours, correct?
In 2022, I testified that
in 2022, I testified that, and what he's doing here is he's trying to come up with an answer that doesn't reveal the fact that his testimony is getting so much better. And the thing is when I say better, it's just that his evidence gets more and more favorable to the Commonwealth with time, right? More and more supportive of the Commonwealth's position. And, he just keeps adding these little details where he's like, and here he's being called on it. And he knows he's being called on it. And he's like, let me come up with an answer for you. And then there's this like blue screen of death moment where his brain just like halted, it stops and you get the, this program has failed.
I testified that I was just told to be brief and give generalizations. She quantified many hours in the snow when we were back at the
Let me try this again,
So,
sir. because
Mr. Yannetti, you're just saying 2022. Get to a
Of
date
course,
and a
yes.
place.
April of 2022, okay? Before the grand jury, my question again, and I'm still seeking a yes or no answer from you, okay? Nowhere in your answer, in April of 2022, before the grand jury, did you testify under oath that Ms. Reed told you that John had actually been in the snow for many hours, correct?
Not in 2022 of April. No.
Okay. The next time you testified under oath was last year in 2024, correct?
Correct.
During that testimony, Mr. Lally asked you, oh, by the way, so 2022 is no mention of many hours, right?
I did not, and I was told to be brief on the grand jury stand.
But again, no mention of
Right.
many hours in 2022. Okay. Now, 2024.
Now, I'm not going to give him too much grief for shifting around in his space because I shift around too. I've got a bad back. Maybe he does as well. But this guy is weaseling. And I did see a request for pigeon business. And I think this is absolutely pigeon business. This guy is clearly trying to cover for the fact that he is improving his testimony. And yeah.
Last year, Mr. Lally asked you, so firefighter Whitley, at some point, specific to your conversations with the defendant, Ms. Reed, can you describe sort of her demeanor or any observations you made in relation to that as you were speaking with her? And your answer was, yes, she was very upset. She kept asking if there was any chance. She kept asking us if we knew if the person ambulance 1 had transported was alive or dead, and we could not speak to that. She asked if somebody could be alive in the snow without a jacket for many hours, correct?
Correct.
So 2022, there was no mention of many hours. 2024, over time, now that's the first time that you mention the words many hours in your testimony regarding this case, correct?
Correct.
Right? And when you testified last year, you testified still that she was asking you a question about surviving in the snow, correct?
Correct.
So then we come to yesterday on direct examination.
So basically what this witness tried to do is he tries to say she knew he had been out in the snow for many hours. She knew that. And I need to set up a goal. I need to put up a goal. What is a good goal, chat? What is a good goal? Let's see. I'm setting up a goal for I will get a boom emoji done. It might not be during the stream, but yes.
Do you recall that Mr. Brennan yesterday asked you, before you left, were you having any conversations with the defendant? And you answered yes. Recall that yesterday?
Is that at the hospital?
I'm asking you yesterday, do you recall Mr. Brennan asking you before you left essentially the scene, were you having any conversations with the defendant? And your answer was yes.
You're talking about Lee, I'm just trying to make sure we're talking about the same instance. Are we talking about when we left the hospital or when we left Fairview Road?
When you were at Fairview Road, leaving Fairview Road. We're talking about the same subject of what Ms. Reed supposedly told you or asked you. Okay? Mr. Brennan went into that with you.
So on the way to, you're talking on the way to the hospital in terms of left, when we left.
Well, before you left. He meant before you left the scene.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to.
I think it's an important skill for lawyers sometimes to develop the ability to be snarky, because sometimes you have to have some lawyers snarking. And so, like, the whole thing where he's like, the whole thing where he goes, understood, sir. Because as a lawyer, you're very much restricted in what you can say to a witness. You can't say to a witness, bullshit. You just can't, right? You can't do it. But you can say, so this is your testimony today? You can say something like, so you testified to this back in April, but today you're saying this? And the thing is on a transcript, that is completely innocent. It's the tone spin that you put on it that matters sometimes. And now the problem is that all of this stuff, oh, have a good night, Elf Wiggins. A lot of this stuff, they're showing like they're fighting over little things today, right? They're fighting over small pieces. This is not the fight over big stuff. This is the fight over wee little bits. So I don't think anybody in the jury is going to convict or acquit based on whether or not she gave a urine sample. But the jury sometimes is sometimes the jury's sort of count and score. And so sometimes you got to feel like you're putting stuff on the scoreboard, if that makes sense. And so that's part of what they're doing. They're putting stuff on the scoreboard here.
Again, it's the same conversation, Mr. Whitley. I'm not
So,
trying to trick you.
Mr. Yannetti, he just asked for a point of reference. It's clear. Now go.
Understood. And Mr. Brent said, can you share with the jury what those conversations were about? And your answer was, so we were talking, she was upset. She kept asking if there was any chance her husband could be alive, even sitting outside in the snow without any coat for many hours. Do you recall that answer that you gave yesterday on direct examination?
Yes.
And that was the first time that you mentioned that she said, supposedly, or asked supposedly, about him sitting outside in the snow, correct?
I was just using phrases generally speaking.
Not my question.
I wasn't at that point I was paraphrasing.
He's like, not my question. He's like, answer my question.
I was not speaking verbatim to what she said.
Let's try that again. That was the first time that you mentioned that she claimed or asked that he was sitting outside, correct?
It could have been sitting, laying, being.
Let's try it a third time.
So
Was that-
just ask the question, not let's try it.
Sure.
Let's try it.
Was that the first time that you
She's not letting him editorialize about how much this witness is a lying sack of crap in front of the jury. She's like, Mr. Yannetti, if the jury doesn't figure out that this witness is a lying sack of crap, then he's just going to be able to get away with it. That's how this works. You can't tell the jury he's a lying sack of crap. And she's right, but it is funny.
testified under oath that Ms. Reed said or asked about him sitting outside?
Are you asking me to clarify whether she used
I'm
the
not
word
asking you
sitting?
to clarify anything.
So this is the thing, is that often cross-examination feels like pulling teeth, because you'll have a witness who just refuses to answer and refuses to answer and refuses to answer. And so, I mean, I've had situations where I've had to tell the court, like, can you just instruct the witness to answer this? So, yeah. Yep.
Anything. I'm asking you whether that was the first time yesterday during direct examination that you mentioned that he asked about him sitting outside.
I'm sorry. I am very confused because I'm trying to figure out if he was being outside, sitting outside.
I'm asking about Ms. Reed's statements.
He's not confused. Witnesses will sometimes go about how they're feeling super confused, and they're not at all feeling confused. That's not really what they're doing. They will say,
That's
I'm
all I've
feeling
gotten.
super confused. And what they're actually doing is they're weaseling. They're buying time. They're fudging. This guy is 0% confused. There is no confusion here whatsoever. This guy is 100% weaseling, and he's stalling for time, and he is all of that. So, yeah. He's like, oh, if you could just be more clear about this. And it's like, no, there is no way to be more clear about this when you've got somebody who is very much dishonest about it.
About her
Okay.
statements to you and your testimony about her statements to you. Was yesterday on direct examination the first time that you testified under oath that Ms. Reed mentioned the words sitting outside?
I don't know.
All right.
I'm just using. She might have said laying outside, being outside, outside.
Okay, so when you testified yesterday,
Okay, so he sort of beats up on this witness for a while. And yeah, let's jump a little bit to the sort of attempt to repair him. We'll jump there. And in Biggin,
Where people, maybe children, have fallen through the ice and had hypothermia. Did you have that conversation with her in trying to comfort her?
yes, I've realized this kind of back and forth hugely triggers my anxiety, and I hate it. I'll continue to watch until she's found not guilty on all charges, though. I don't know that that's where we're going, but we'll see. I hope, but yeah.
I did.
Do you remember that conversation?
I do.
Did you necessarily share those conversations with the grand jury?
I don't recall if I did or I didn't.
Did you ever write that in your report?
No.
Is it something you typically put everything in your report?
No, we do not write. Generally, we only write patient complaint, what happened, what they did, not their opinions or anything like that of what's going on.
Do you have any interest in the outcome of this case?
I do not.
How long have you been a firefighter for?
Since March of 2006, and an EMT since November of 2002.
We're going to slow it right down to 1 speed here for this. Yeah.
Over 20 years.
Correct.
You said that you live near Kerry Roberts?
I do.
You've been to a block party for the kids where you've brought the fire engine down?
I do.
I'm going to allow it.
Why are you allowing it? That has no relevance other than just to, you bring the fire engine down for the kids, so you're a nice guy. That doesn't mean that he's more or less credible. It doesn't mean anything other than they're just trying to, like, oh yeah, he's, he's got to be a nice guy because, look what he does for the kids. Nope. Nope. That is not how we do this.
When you're at that block party, do you ever step out and have secret meetings with Kerry Roberts trying to corroborate some conspiracy on their behalf?
No. No.
Put your career on the line?
Judge, you should have been sustaining that a lot sooner, but the put your career on the line, all of that is basically they're just trying to say, and the thing is they shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be saying this is not the kind of person who would tell a lie. Because, Lita says, do you still have the model human brain and skull I sent you? Yes, it is right there. It kind of fell over, so it's kind of everywhere right now, but I do have it. So thank you. I will find use for it again. I just got to reassemble it and sort of not let it fall over again, because it turns into a lot of pieces. It's got a skull inside it, but the skull is like all sorts of little bits. Like the brain is little bitsy witsies. So when it fell, they kind of I got to reassemble the human brain. Is basically the thing on that one. But yes. Yeah, that question was not cool. The put your career on the line. And she should have seen it coming. She let Brennan get away with so much there.
No further questions.
Any follow-up, Mr. Yannetti?
No, you are.
All right, Firefighter Whitley, you are all set.
Also, why does everybody get a title here? Like, personally, I don't think they should be using titles for anything other than, like, Dr. So-and-so. But, like, it's firefighter so-and-so and, whatever else. This always sort of improves the testimony of officer so-and-so versus Mr. So-and-so. I mean, if they don't have an earned title, it should be Mr. So-and-so. Firefighter, yeah.
Like to play clip 5, Your Honor?
And here's the clip.
And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think it looks like he got hit by a car. It looks like he got hit by a car.
All right, who's your next witness, Mr. Brennan?
So, what was the actual probative value of that? What fact does that clip make more likely to be true? The whole point is Karen Reed making a voice about the mom. Now, defense did well getting that thrown over, but here's the problem. Brennan is being very skillful in the way he's weaving these clips in, the way he's kind of, interspersing them. He's not running the clips one after another. He does a witness, rolls a clip, does a witness, rolls a clip. And one of the things I think that Brennan is trying to bait or pressure the defense into calling Karen Reed. Because one of the things that juries want to hear in every trial, even though they're told that they shouldn't want to hear this, that they shouldn't judge based on this, they want to hear the accused say, I didn't do it. They want to hear the accused deny it. And when they have heard from Karen Reed over and over and over again, they're going to be like, well, you didn't, the jury's going to be sitting there going, I didn't hear them, I didn't hear her deny it. Emily Hart says, can I have whatever you're drinking? If you want, it's the spicy Bud Light Chelada. And if that is a snarky comment to suggest that I'm drunk, I have had half of a can of really weak beer, 4%. So we good here. This is becoming a running theme on the channel, which is that if I'm not smashed, I get people suggesting I'm smashed. And if I actually get to smashed, then people stop thinking I'm drunk. I see. Have I had the Modelo? Where was that? Does Modelo make one that's with Clamato? I haven't, but Modelo is Modelo's really good. There's a place that's not too far away that does a Taco Tuesday. They are not far away, and they do a michelada or michelada. I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced, but and they let you choose which beer you want. I always get the Modelo Especial, the light Modelo, and it's one of my favorite things. I quite like it. So, all right. Yeah. And this is the other problem. Unpopular opinion. Karen Reed is super cringe. She should still be found not guilty based on the evidence, but she's very unlikable and didn't do herself any favors with these interviews. I don't know that she comes off well in these things. I don't know that she actually looks good in any of these interviews. Certainly she doesn't look good in that clip. And I wouldn't want to do interviews as well, because if I know, guys, I have no idea. There are 3,500 of you here watching. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe, all of those things. I don't know why you watch me, because I am not super I'm not super personable. I'm not a super likable guy. I'm the sort of person who, people are like, who was that guy? I am probably, although not diagnosed, probably autistic. I am really bad at tone. I'm bad at all of those things. I'm bad at knowing when I've worn out a joke. I'm bad at knowing when, something's appropriate to say versus not. I alienate people. I would not be given interviews if I was accused of a murder. But she's in the very difficult situation of needing to pay experts and needing to, needing some press coverage to make sure that all of this is, that she gets a fair shake at this. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a whole thing. And I see people saying, you are likable. And I'm like, guys, so I have run into a fair number of fair number of lawyers who I went to law school with, right? And, you run into them at the bars near the courthouse, and you run into, you just all of those things, right? And so every one of them who's run into me has been like, Runkle, you're on YouTube. And I'm like, yes, because they found my YouTube channel. And they're like, every one of them has been like, all of the people in law school, of all of the people, you were like dead last of who I thought would have a YouTube channel that was successful. And I'm like, me too. I wouldn't have picked me either for this. Like I wouldn't have. So, and they're not trying to say it in like a mean way. They're trying to say it in like just a, how did this happen kind of way. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand it. So, I feel like Karen Reed sometimes misfires in terms of what she's trying to convey. And she's also got some trauma. Like, let's face it, she's got some trauma. She's got some stress. And when you're talking about a stressful incident, it's impossible not to sort of trauma dump a little bit. And I think that's what we're seeing here is she's talking about a stressful moment. And suddenly she's like venting some of her feelings about that. And it's like, you need a therapist for this after the trial, right? And the thing is yes, she's not getting paid for the interviews, but it does help with her fundraising, right? It does help with that. So, yeah. And, I'm weird and have zero friends. You tried to teach me how to watch or how to people watch to pretend what people do and make a friend. That's nice. I couldn't figure it out, but it was nice. Keep at it. The other thing is like, I am sufficiently odd that like I have trouble peopling at all, right? And so I've had to learn how to do all of the things that people do to relate to each other. Like when people smile at you and you smile back, that is not something that comes naturally for me. It's like, oh, right, that is the thing we do here. And you get better at it with time. You get better at it by learning to do the people things. And I kind of feel that sometimes it's like, you see somebody doing something naturally and then you're sitting there trying to do it, but you're doing it like, you've got like a system of wires and pulleys to make it happen. And, so I've had people like, people are like, I bowed out of parties before where it's like, you're at a party and you're just like, I've had enough of the party. I cannot do it now. I cannot do it at all. I got to go home. And they're like, why? I'm like, I am too tired to continue being a person. And I will just be something, and I'm going to piss people off if I stay here, because I will not be able to make the facial expressions that say that I like what you are here, saying. Even when I do, I will instead make the facial expressions of just, I am here, and he'll be like, So, yeah. Anyway, the long and short of all of this rambling story is that I would not be wanting to give police interviews because I know that I might come out weird. And I wouldn't want to be giving media interviews on this because I know I might come out weird. So, yeah. All right, let's go to our next witness here and see what's going on.
Next witness is Jean DeMoulis.
And you're probably wondering, who the F is Jean DeMoulis? Well, okay, let's find that out. I am convinced that like over half of my subscribers are like dead subs from the Johnny Depp era, who just stopped watching, because I do not, like for a live stream like this, I do not pull 3,900 or 300,000 subscribers levels of people, but that's fine. I am still hoping to hit that 300,000 just for the
Okay.
ding, the big ding on it. I got to figure out some kind of party for that. I got to figure out something to do when we hit 300,000. So, all right, let's get our next witness here. Wait, okay, that guy. Okay, the tie is different, but the color of the tie is the same. All right, let's.
You can scooch in close to the microphone. Thanks.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Jean DeMoulis. I am the general manager at CF McCarthy's in Canton.
I'm going to ask you.
Okay, that's all that we need to know about her. Quite literally, she does not say anything that you need to give it an F about. She owns the bar. That's it. So why do they call her as a witness? Well, for this.
Ma'am, I'm going to show you just some random shots from this video, but I want to know if you recognize it. Is this the inside of CF McCarthy's?
Yes.
I'm not asking if you have any particular knowledge or information about that night. I just want to know is this a fair and accurate depiction of what CF McCarthy's looks like?
Yes.
Has there been any substantive, significant changes to the inside of that establishment
No.
since this video was taken?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Okay.
That's it. If you're wondering why she's there, it is literally to be, I own the bar. The bar has a surveillance system. The surveillance video is actually from the bar. This is what CF McCarthy's looks like. That's it. And so if you forget at the end of the trial who she is and why she exists, then you have probably done yourself a favor. That's about it. That's all.
I'm sorry.
Spell your last name.
Camerano.
And so if you could either move the microphone down a little bit or speak up, or maybe a combination of both, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair.
Could I ask you how old you are?
48,
Where do you live?
Canton, Mass.
How long have you lived in Canton for?
Me and my wife have lived there for 20 years. Me and my wife have lived there for 20 years. We have 2 children.
How old are your children?
By the way, if they ever shut that bar down, I would love to get like the bar tops in order to make pens out of. That would be amazing. That bar looks like it would make some excellent pens. And I haven't made a pen in a while. Rob makes pens more often, but I haven't made one in a while. So, yeah.
Sir?
My daughter is 17. My son is 14.
Did you know?
Okay, let's summarize this guy's testimony real fast. From the Commonwealth side, from the prosecution, his testimony is, isn't it true that it is really, really sad that that John O'Keefe died? And the answer to that is yes, that is very sad. And okay. From the defense side, the testimony or the cross-examination is, isn't it true that Karen Reed is not a complete C word? And he's like, that is correct. She does not actually appear to be a C word. She actually seems to care about those kids. That's his testimony. Like that, we summed him up. That's it, right? That's what they get out of him. Yeah, this guy, I don't think he's lying at all. He's just trying to testify as honestly as he can. And he's just like, yep, everything sucks about this. So we're going to skip over him because really he's there to pull at your heartstrings. And yeah, so now we're going to come back to Guarino.
Most commonly used, and then we can take call logs or text messages, any information.
Guarino says some stuff. All we care about with Guarino is basically this. Where did I have a timestamp for Guarino. There's not a whole lot that we care about with Guarino. Let's see, where was it that we went to? No. All right. So let's see.
On the 28th.
This is Guarino.
You didn't have to do that. Thanks. 5:27:43 p.m.
He doesn't say kill me again.
From the defendant to John O'Keefe, are you really not going to accept my friend request? 5:32:33 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, an emoji on
an emoji. The emoji is the eye roll emoji.
What? FB 5:33:01.
So he's saying he doesn't have Facebook anymore.
From the defendant to John O'Keefe, yeah, we've been going out for 2 years. 5:33:20 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, I haven't gone on. You defriended me over a year ago, I believe. 5:33:48 p.m. on the 28th.
So he reads a ton of text messages, and these text messages are petty little argumentative shit. Now, the thing is the petty argumentative shit is like, my wife and I don't text each other like this because we are not wankers. These two are like in their 40s or something. How old are they? But they text like they're teenagers. They text like they are teenagers involved in some cheerleader bullshit. And I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God. So the thing is that, all right, we're going to go into some dating advice. Dating advice because it's better than these texts. So people are like, how do I find the one? How do I find the person out there who is the best person ever? And the thing is that in order to do that, you need to make sure that you have worked on you. So like you'll get teenagers and 20 something people going like, I need to find my one true love. And I'm like, what are you going to do when you find her? Because most of those people, it's like, you are not ready to meet your one true love, and you better fucking hope you don't until you've got some time under your belt, because my God, you better work on yourself, because you're going to meet the perfect person. And if you meet the perfect person and you are a sack of crap at that time, then you are not going to be like, it's not going to work. You've got to, you got to have some emotional maturity. And the thing is that part of emotional maturity on both of their parts is that they probably should have gone, nah, we good. This is not working out. They are sniping at each other. They are whatever. And you might say, what does this mean? What is the significance of this? What does this mean for the trial? Does it mean Karen Reed killed him? No. Does it mean anything? No. This is just two people in a dysfunctional relationship. But I do criminal defense. And as a criminal defense lawyer, I see dysfunctional relationships all the time. I see the text messages from dysfunctional relationships all the time. And on a scale of dysfunctional relationships out of 10, this is like a 3. This is like a 3, right? This is not, this is like maybe these two shouldn't be together, but it's not like, hey, this is something I expect is going to be violent. And in fact, we don't hear that it's violent. We don't hear that Karen Reed was like throwing dishes at him or setting him on fire while he's asleep. We don't hear that John O'Keefe was laying a backhand to her. We don't hear any of that. They are emotionally shitty to each other, and they are both kind of jealous at each other, where they are both like, they're like, is there someone else? And it's like, no. Is the plumber hot? And it's like, he's a fat guy with a plumber's crack. What do you want from me here? Right? Like, this is the kind of messaging they're sending, but this is not something where I look at this and I'm like, yeah, this totally makes sense that there's a murder. Addie Martinez, wow, I don't want to see a 10. A 10 is like the relationship I had where she, not me, it wasn't my relationship, it was a file I had, but she was texting him nudes, except they weren't nudes, they were action shots. She was texting him action shots to make him jealous. And it's like, well, yes, I can imagine that most guys would be jealous if they see you sending, if you're sending them a picture with your mouth full. And you can do the math on that one. That is what I would call very immature, right? I've seen people sending direct threats. I've seen people suggesting, like, sending violence. I've seen people, all of those things. I've seen pictures where, I've seen text messages where, text exchanges where she sends him a picture of all of his shit in the fire pit on fire. I've seen pictures where guy had a collection of stuff. I'm not going to narrow down what he was collecting, but suffice to say, his collection of stuff was in the tens of thousands of dollars range. And she sent him a video of it getting destroyed. So, you know, people get way petty, right? People get way nasty, way vicious, way all sorts of shit. And this is not that, right? This makes me just go and I look at this and I'm like, they're good. So Lego? No, that would be like 2 boxes of Lego. Just saying, there's all sorts of stuff. So I'm not going to go through all the texts. I'm not going to go through the texts at all.
Keith, nope, my shower
You
only
know,
got
they
lukewarm, and now my sink won't run hot at all. The plumber I used to use is right down the road. 7:26:27 p.m. on the 28th. When the defendant's John O'Keefe, I turned that temp thing in the basement all the way up. 7:26:52 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, check the hot water heater and see if it's leaking. 7:26:52 p.m. on the 28th. The defendant to John O'Keefe, it's not. 7:26:59 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, don't do that. 7:27:01 p.m. on the 28th. John O'Keefe to the defendant, is the pilot lit? 7:27.
So they're having a dispute over whether she should hire a plumber to get her hot water running. Like, of all the shit to be super upset about, like, okay. So yeah, and then they end the day off with this.
There's no objection, Mr. Lessie, correct? Yes.
I'm going to hide myself a little bit.
When you walked out of the bar, how many drinks had you had?
I had probably about 4, and not 4 that I completed either. I didn't drink maybe more than a few sips at the waterfall.
And 4 drinks you felt fine to drive?
Yep.
Clip 8, please.
Okay.
And is the level of intoxication pretty high here for everybody?
It's happy.
Yeah.
It's
So you had a lot to drink, right?
I wouldn't say I had like a normal amount. Was it like a vodka tonic every 40 minutes?
Okay. And so are you feeling like buzzed? And I'm not judging, I'm just trying to get a
Yeah,
sense.
buzzed.
Yeah.
Clip 9, please.
So 4 drinks and then buzzed.
The final count of my alcohol intakes, probably about 5 or 6 or 4. The drinks that they were pouring me at McCarthy's, which is where I consumed most of the alcohol, was the weakest vodka tonic. It tasted just like old soda water with lime.
If you're wondering why McCarthy's might be pissed at her, she's like, if you go to CF McCarthy's, they will give you the weakest booze ever. They will underpour you. Those guys are cheap. They are serving you, you know, and I'm like, okay. By the by, I've been to bars like that. I went to a bar where I ended up asking them each time, can I get a shot of vodka and a soda? Because if I got the vodka soda, it was coming back as soda. And so they got pissed because I was going, I want a soda and a vodka and a vodka shot. And they were like, you know, yeah. Alcohol is the most expensive thing that that a bar serves, and you know, or it's expensive to them, and so sometimes they will short you. On the other hand, is there are bars that overserve. So yeah, but she's like, yeah, they're shorting me on the booze.
Not that I need it to be a martini, but it might have a splash of vodka in it. So I said, John, this drink tastes like it has no vodka in it. He said, just get a shot and mix it yourself. So she would,
Yes.
so each drink was being counted as a double. So I would get a vodka tonic, and then I would pour a shot into it, so that would count as two. But frankly, it just felt like a regular cocktail. It was just a really weak pour, so I asked for a shot. So for my taste, it just tasted like that's the normal strength of what a drink should be. So I had maybe two or
truth.
three that are being counted as 4 and 6, and I don't know. I felt fine. I felt like I was buzzed. And then there was one drink, the last one that was given to me, which I would have counted as 3, but they're counting as my 6th cocktail. The guys that we were with brought around the shots, and they gave me one that I didn't drink, but I poured it in my drink. So that's now my 5th and 6th drinks with the 7th, which is a shot that all the men did, and I poured it. So that one glass that I'm holding, that I go into the waterfall with, has 3 drinks in it, a vodka tonic and 2 shots. And which is why John said to me, you're not leaving that drink here, like you haven't touched it and just poured a bunch of vodka, like just take it with you, which is something he always did. So then I go into waterfall, and
I'm stunned that they're allowed, like in this town, nobody notices anything when somebody just walks out with a drink.
I put that drink down and I would socialize most of the time. So that would have been my 5th, 6th, and 7th drinks. Then John orders me a drink at the waterfall that I don't drink, that he takes with him. And then there was a round of shots that Chris Howard bought that I did take. So that would have been the night. But I did not consume 9 vodka martinis or take 9 shots, depending on how you count it. And the last 2 drinks, I didn't touch.
Clip 10, please.
I'm just gonna say, these clips are damaging. They are damaging, and I know people are saying this is not a big deal. This is damaging. This is hurting Karen Reed, and more than anything else, the one, like, they can disbelieve all of these witnesses. They're gonna look at this and they're gonna go, she's drinking heavily, and she's rationalizing her drinking. I mean, this is harmful. This is very harmful.
And I'm not as clear as I would be if I hadn't been drinking. I mean, I had drank, so, and that led me to question, like, could I have hit him? Did I run over his foot or hit him in the knee? Did I incapacitate him? I mean, I always drive with my music blasting ever since I was 16. And I know when John got out of the car to go into Fairview, I know my car was blasting because when I got in it the next morning to look for him, I had to immediately turn it down. And
I mean, since everybody acts like they're 16 in this town, so yeah.
I don't know, it's stormy. I have had a few cocktails. I didn't black out, but I wasn't as lucid as I would have been if I had gone to bed at 9 and drank a tea. But so I was fuzzier than I would have been if I had no alcohol.
Clip 11, please.
This doesn't surprise me. Hotel was actually a fairly common place for an interview. Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway. I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway at 12:15.
She says, I'm too drunk to get on the expressway.
The roads were very quiet. You can see it on the videos. And I was going, when I've had a few drinks and I drive, I always drive extra slow. So I know my alerts aren't as sharp as they should be. But I shouldn't have been driving. But I don't think I was driving. I know I wasn't driving recklessly. We've got plenty of video of myself driving all over the place. I put my car in John's garage.
We're almost done this one, but it is turned up about as much as we can before the audio starts getting dog shit. If I turn it up any higher, the audio starts to break apart.
Which is incredibly narrow, and I have a very oversized SUV. You see me, there's a video of me driving through the intersection when we leave Waterfall to go to Brian Albert's, and I was always taught by my father, even when you have a green light, you always should tap the brake. You don't know who's going to run red. And I see me doing that multiple times between 12 and 1 and 5 and 6 a.m. So I know I was driving safely, not as safely or as alert as I would be if I had no alcohol. I was not driving recklessly by
Oh, I don't.
Thank you. May we approach?
Yes.
So, that's day 3. we got 0 minutes for day 4, but we're going to jump to day 4. Day 4 is actually not much happens, so we can maybe get through day 4 fairly quickly. But yeah, it's I mean, those why do I think that our attorneys allowed her to do those interviews? Because in order to pay for experts and so forth, they got to fundraise. And in order to fundraise, they need public attention. And so that's why I think they did it. I get it, but it's tough. Some people have asked me to comment on the body language of the O'Keefe family in the courtroom. My comment on the body language of the O'Keefe family in the courtroom is no. We are not doing that. They are, the family of the deceased. We're not gonna sort of play pick at what they do.
So you'll be under their supervision until you're returned back here.
All right.
Photographs or any time during the trial. You're not to return to the scene or ask anybody to go back there for you. Today's your chance. You'll see photographs during the course of the trial, I bet. But today's your chance to really look at everything. So you'll be under their supervision until you're returned back here.
So they're gonna go to the scene. We're gonna play this at 1.5.
So that's basically it. We'll be leaving in a few minutes, but first, before Madam Clerk swears the court officers in, Mr. Brennan, do you want to make a view opening?
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
So what this is the jurors are about to go see the scene. And at the scene, they're going to park the vehicle, right? So they're going to see all of this. And so both sides are going to present to the jury stuff they want the jury to look at. So this is important. This is really important. Yes, but also I'm not going to snipe at the victims' families. I'm just not. That's not what we're doing here.
As Her Honor explained to you, we're going to go to 34 Fairview Road. We have some exhibits that are already in evidence. You haven't had a long time to look at them, study them. But essentially, we're going to go to 34 Fairview Road. I asked you to pay attention to the street, the front yard of the home. And you'll see to the left side of the front yard in the corner, there'll be a car. It's the Lexus that we've spoken about, the defendant's Lexus. And you'll also see a flagpole and a fire hydrant. And so I'd ask you to take a look from different vantage points. Take a look from that area where the flagpole is, from where the fire hydrant is. And you'll see on the street before the grass is all over concrete there. Come up a little bit. I'd ask you just to note that. One thing I suggest is April 25th, 2025, on January 22nd, 2022. So the weather will be very different. The temperature will be different. The conditions will be different. We're going to go there probably at 10 o'clock. It won't be the same visibility. It won't be the same elements.
Oh, people are asking, can I slow it down? Yes, we'll slow it down.
Keep that in mind when you're looking on. When you look at the Lexus, a couple things.
So he said, look at the berms, look at the street, look at the
There's
Lexus.
some evidence already in photographs of the right rear tail light.
Look at the tail light.
When you look at that tail light, it will be different than the photograph, and as an evidence, it has been removed, so it will appear differently, and you'll later hear testimony explaining that process. Also, I'd ask you to make a note on the Lexus about the height of the bumper.
Look at the bumper.
You make note of the height from the right rear tail light.
Look at the tail light.
Also ask you to take note of, on the top of the hatchback, there is a part that protrudes. I'd ask you to look at that as well. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
I don't have any problems with his thing there, right? Yeah.
Brennan, Ms. Tianetti?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning.
As I told you at the start of the trial, my name is David Unetti. I have an office in Boston and in Dedham.
I'm just going to go back to this.
Good morning.
As I told you at the start of the trial, my name is David Unetti. I have an
This is interesting because when he says good morning to the jury says good morning back. They're relating to him, and he smiles because often as a defense lawyer, if you say good morning to the jury, You know what the jury does? Jury does this. Even in cases that you win, where they acquit, the jury does this. Why? Because juries freaking hate defense lawyers. They just do. And here, they're relating to him. They're vibing with him a bit. And I'm like, huh.
In Boston and in Dedham. And on behalf of my co-counsel, we will be accompanying you on the view that you will take today. Although the view is not evidence, I suggest to you that you will find it to be helpful, important, even necessary as you later do your investigation of this case within the four walls of this courtroom. You've already received in evidence, some photos and videos, but there is no substitute for your own two eyes. As we all know, photos and videos sometimes can be misleading in terms of relative distances, depending upon the perspective from which the photo is taken.
Yes,
But
we'll go to
your
Rob soon.
eyes are the best computer that you could bring to the view. When
Subtitles,
we get
yes.
to 34 Fairview,
Why were those
we
not
will
on?
be pointing out certain things that we'd like you to observe. The house, the second floor window to that house, the 3 front doors in the front of the house, the driveway, the street, the front lawn, and the flagpole. And we'll be asking you.
Now, this I thought was interesting. He's like, look at the windows, look at the doors, look at all the ways that somebody could have looked out and seen this, right? So, yeah.
Specifically, to consider the distance between that second floor front window and the front lawn. The distance between the front door.
Would you, looking out that window, have seen a dead body? Would you have seen that? If you didn't put that body on the lawn, would you have spotted it? Would you have saved John O'Keefe if you didn't kill John O'Keefe?
Doors to the house and that front lawn, the distance between the driveway to the front. And we'll be asking you to take a good look at that Lexus.
I mean, this is the thing. They can't recreate the blizzard.
To size it up, to take it in. You were all selected as jurors because the parties entrusted that you would do a proper investigation of this case within this courtroom. On behalf of Ms. Reed, we have every confidence that you will do a proper investigation. Thank you.
Why do defense lawyers suck up to juries? Because juries hate defense lawyers when you walk in the door and you want the jury to hate you a little bit less. But also, that little, you will do a proper investigation is a wee bit of a shot at the Commonwealth, right? Wee bit of a shot.
All right, jurors, I have to make something very clear. So the purpose of this view is...
All right, so she's going to tell them, you go there, you are not allowed to do investigation, you're not allowed to do your own tests, you are not allowed to do anything other than go see things. And then the jury does that for a long time. And then we get to the world's most boring man. We get to the world's most boring man. And surprisingly, I never thought we would see the world's most boring man in this trial, because the world's most boring man is here to conduct the direct examination of this witness.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning. Good morning, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your last name for the court?
My name is Dr. Gary Fowler, F as in Frank, A-L-L-E-R.
Now, I am pretty certain that they let Lally go with this guy because this guy doesn't matter a whole lot. However, this guy doesn't actually tell us much. What is he here to tell us about? He's here to tell us about blood testing. Okay. So he does blood testing. Lally, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure that Brennan put Lally. I think Brennan tied Lally to a chair for a weekend and beat him with a hose and basically said, we're going to do this again if I hear a single what if anything in your entire direct examination. And it was basically just if I think Lally is wearing the the shock vest from the what's his trial with Brennan sitting there with a button for if Lally says what if anything, because he never says what if anything. There's no what if anything. And I'm like, good for you. You're learning. Now, this is the other thing is apparently there's a painted rock that was left at 34 Fairview that looks like it's bloody because it's been painted with some red stuff that says Alberts. Somebody might be trying to provoke a mistrial, but I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, Lally conducts a perfectly acceptable direct of this. The direct is basically just, did you take some blood? Yes. Did you test some blood? Yes. Isn't that cool? Okay, so let's jump to, because the fact that they took blood is super unimportant.
Next one, sometimes
we're jumping to cross.
there can be patients who make endogenous,
Yes.
make their own alcohol. So very rarely some patients may truly have a positive result. That could be from our test or Headspace. They make their
Oh yeah, this is fun.
anemia. That can interfere. So it's always have to correlate with the clinical situation. The next one, sometimes there can be patients who make endogenous, make their own alcohol. So very rarely some patients may truly have a positive result. That could be from our test or Headspace. They make their own. So we have to rule that out. It's a rare condition. And the next.
So he's talking about brewer's syndrome or brewery syndrome or whichever it is. There is a condition where some people they have fermentation going on in their body, and it causes you to create alcohol just in your body, like you're literally a brewery, and it can get you smashed. And it's interesting. I have never actually dealt with an auto brewery syndrome case. I have actually been in a law firm where another lawyer had an auto brewery syndrome diagnosis. And basically the guy got busted. He was driving. He blew some stupid amount. Anyway, then they went and they tested the guy. And it turns out he makes his own booze. He is full of booze, just always. And they found this out because they had him in a room with a video camera on him where where he was not being allowed any alcohol And yeah, what is that called? Auto brewery syndrome. And it is not a good thing. It actually it can really F with people's lives. It can really, I see people saying, can I ask for this condition? You don't want it. You don't want a condition where you are uncontrollably drunk, because you like it it'll hit you at random times where you get drunk at a random point. And so it's not like, hey, I'm saving money on going to the bar. It's like, hey, I just got hired for this big new job and I showed up for my big first day and I got smashed because I didn't do anything. I had breakfast and I got smashed off my cereal. And that you don't have a good time there. So yeah.
One is one that's in the literature, which is LDH and lactic acid. If a patient has a markedly elevated LDH or lactic acid, those one is an enzyme, and the other one is an acid, that can cause false positives. Now,
if I could stop you there, Doctor. I think those were the four that you identified, the four limitations.
If I could stop you there, Doctor, and he's like, oh, you're still here, because this guy is so lost in his own, in his own explanations that he's like, I forgot I was explaining this to you. I was just talking about the stuff. So, this guy is incredibly nerdy. And I say this as a person who is himself incredibly nerdy. Like, this guy is... But I kind of like him. Like, he's... I'd go for a beer with this guy.
The lactic acid, the hematite.
Yeah.
If I could just
go ahead and ask your next question.
If I could ask you a few more questions about LDH and lactic acid.
Sure.
You're aware, Dr. Fowler, of the medical literature establishing that the presence of LDH and lactic acid can lead to falsely elevated serum readings, correct?
Correct.
And that's because lactic acid or LDH actually forms NADH. Right?
Lactic acid, I'll have to go into a little bit of chemistry. Lactic acid and LDH, lactate dehydrogenase, they both act on each other. And LDH and lactic acid needs NAD plus to break it down. So in theory, when you're testing a serum, a plasma for blood alcohol, if there's extra LDH or high levels of LDH, high levels of lactic acid, you add it to the test system, and then Roche throws in, or Siemens throws in the NAD, it will form NADH. That was first documented, I think, back in the older versions of these ethanol testings back in the 1990s, when they stumbled on, they were looking for biomarkers or reasons in kids with SIDS, little babies, and they found that two of these babies had a positive alcohol. But
Doctor, if I could just ask the next question, if that's okay.
Sorry.
He's like, let me tell you the neat story about the, about how they discovered this, right? He's wandering into these cool stories about incredibly nerdy stuff, and they have to keep pulling him back because they're like, you can't tell the cool nerdy story. And he's like, okay. And he's disappointed each time. And I'm like, I want to hear this. I feel like this guy probably has a D&D group, and he probably plays a barbarian, and he probably is like, probably cuts loose a little bit there.
So in other words, NADH, studies have found, can actually be formed by certain biomechanical processes other than the presence of alcohol, right?
Yes.
Are you aware that the National Institute of Health has found that liver diseases, kidney diseases, muscle injury, trauma, and even anemia are some of the health conditions that can lead to a rise in serum LDH levels?
Yes.
Are you aware that Ms. Reed was severely anemic in January of 2022?
Sustained.
The objection is she's testifying.
Are you aware that the medical literature has also found that patients suffering from multiple sclerosis have a 2-fold increase in NADH levels as compared to controls?
I'm going to allow that.
I haven't read anything specifically related to the
allowable.
NADH level, but I want to go back to the point where our laboratory, our testing is not based. It's not testing.
Let him finish his answer.
It's not. It's the rate of change of NADH. So if somebody has NADH on board, I believe it's not going to affect the result. It's the rate of change, and it basically, back to the anemia. I haven't read or heard of that.
That was stricken. That was not allowed.
It all goes back to the lactic acid and the LDH. The NADH doesn't matter. So looking at multiple sclerosis patients, they can have elevated LDH and lactic acid, but it's not to the extent that it can interfere with the alcohol levels. There was a study.
She's trying to say, what the defense is trying to say is that this reading is bad because the MS could throw it off. And then we get to redirect.
Did not achieve, didn't get close. Two big centers in Italy and one in the Netherlands show that the highest level of lactic acid in the MS patients did not achieve, didn't get close. Usually patients with MS that are asymptomatic can have normal or low normal levels, and slightly elevated. It was the ones that had more symptoms that had elevated levels up to, I think the highest was 6.5 millimoles per deciliter, which is not high enough to interfere with our result.
Now, with respect to the lab at Good Samaritan Medical Center, the interference that you were speaking about earlier on cross-examination, what would happen if any of those types of interference were to occur during the course of the testing?
I'm just like, how is it that this guy makes Lally seem confident and secure? But I like this guy better than I like Lally. A lot better.
No, I'll allow it.
The three main ones, which I detailed earlier, is the hemolysis, icterus, and lipemia. Machines are sophisticated. It will detect it and say, it will flag it and say, please do not result it, or we'll have a disclaimer saying, interpret this result with caution. The results may not be accurate. It hardly ever happens with alcohol testing. But if it did, we would get a result like that and we probably wouldn't report it.
So basically he's saying, listen, like the critical thing here is saying, like, listen, these machines have a reading that says, if something weird is going on, it'll throw up something weird is going on. You should use another testing method. So, I mean, ultimately they're trying to throw they're trying to sort of throw some wrenches into this alcohol testing. I don't think anything landed on any side here. And then we have this guy. I don't know.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give
Oh,
to the
in
court
Judge
will be
Bebb's
true,
courtroom, the door
the
opens
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
at
truth, so help you God.
a whisper.
Good afternoon, sir. All right, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
I love the auto close captioning. All right, Mr. President. Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Mr. President.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Jason Becker.
How old are you?
I am 36 years old.
Do you live in the area?
I do. I live in Canton.
Tell us a little bit about your education.
My education, high school and college UMass. And I went to EMT school a little over 10 years ago and paramedic school.
Tell me a little bit about EMT school. How old were you when you started EMT school?
When I started EMT school, roughly 21 years old.
Why did you decide to go to EMT school?
I wanted to save some lives.
great answer. Fantastic answer. All right. Let's jump ahead a little bit. Basically, they are trying to get to, like, what did she say to them? Go to, there we go.
Right? Right. Okay. Firefighter Whitley was with you in the back of the ambulance the entire time you were with Miss Reed, correct?
Not the entire time. He was before we started transporting. He was kind of in and out, trying to find more of, talking to the police officers, find more of a story of, what happened, why we're taking the defendant on a Section 12.
Once you and Miss Reed were in the back of the ambulance, Firefighter Whitley then joined you in the back of the ambulance?
He did.
How much time lapsed?
It was a couple minutes at the most.
Okay, so it wasn't a lengthy amount of time.
It wasn't lengthy.
And he was with you during the transport, along with Miss Reed, for the whole transport back to Good Sam.
Yes.
And you said on direct examination, I think your phrase was, all in all, she was cooperative with us.
For the majority of the transport, yes.
Okay.
This guy sweats enough that you could probably use him to power a car wash. I don't think that indicates anything about him lying, because he sweats during the direct, right? He's just like super nervous. He doesn't want to be here. He's like, I want nothing to do with this. And he is
never became combative, never got physical, nothing like that.
No.
Okay.
Also, I take the bags under his eyes, not being that he is anything like. My read on this guy is that he's super nervous and that he probably didn't sleep well last night, and because he was nervous about testifying today. That's my read on this guy.
She did refer to Mr. O'Keefe as her husband or her spouse.
That's correct.
You're aware of HIPAA rules, obviously. You're in the medical field, correct?
Correct.
You were aware at the
congratulations on
time
that fundraiser.
that HIPAA rules would demand or dictate that unless you're a spouse or a
I'm team she should be
parent or
acquitted, but I
child,
don't know if she
there's
will.
certain rules against
Or if she
getting
will
or
be.
providing information to someone who isn't one of those close family members, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You previously indicated on direct examination that, I think your words were, that
People saying he may have worked all night. That also makes
Ms. Reed
sense.
indicated that her last conversation she had with her husband was an argument, correct?
Correct.
You've previously testified about that statement in other particulars, right? Other hearings.
I have.
You're paraphrasing. You didn't write down what she said about.
I don't think this guy's on drugs. I just don't. He looks too healthy. He looks. I mean, he's nervous, but it's not the drug fidgetiness. I am not. I don't get drugs from this guy. I don't.
Her previous interactions with Mr. O'Keefe, and you didn't record those on a tape recorder, correct?
I wrote down in my report that she said she had an argument.
Right. You didn't write them down at the time. That was a bad question on my part. You weren't taking notes as she was speaking.
Yeah, could have been. I mean, it's kind of for every call, we jot down notes on a notepad, just so, when we give the staff a report, we can read off it.
Do you have those notes?
I don't.
Okay. Do you think you took notes or no?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I could have been typing them on the computer.
Yeah, he does, as compared to like my meth clients. I mean, he's got pronounced cheekbones, but he doesn't have the drawn in, like, sort of skeletal, like, look. He's got some color to him. I don't get drug addict off of this guy. I just don't. I get sort of skinny, but eats.
Computer. That's what we typed the report on.
Okay.
At the time.
Do you have an independent recollection of taking notes, either handwritten or on a computer, as you sit here right now?
I couldn't tell you if I did one or the other. Sometimes I write on the computer, sometimes I don't.
Or you might not have written anything down, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So in any event, you weren't taking down, even if you were taking notes, you weren't taking down verbatim quotes of what she was saying. You were paraphrasing the information that was coming to you, correct?
That's correct.
All right. You had previously said or testified that the last time, let me rephrase that just a little bit. You previously indicated in recounting what it was that Miss Reed actually said to you was something along the lines of she was upset because her last words to him were, because of her last words to him being in anger.
I'm going to allow the question.
Is that correct?
Well, I probably phrased it a little wrongly. The last words, it was the last conversation.
Okay, that wasn't my question. My question is a simple one. in a previous hearing, did you use the phrase "her last words to him"?
Yes, I
Were
did.
made?
I did.
And that was at a hearing where you're under oath, just like you are now, correct?
Correct.
That was a little closer in time than we are now. It was maybe a year ago, correct?
Correct.
Actually, my mistake. It was about 2.5 years ago. It was a grand jury, correct?
Grand jury, yes.
Okay. And the phrase that you used was, and I want to concentrate on that for just a quick second, Firefighter Becker.
Sure.
So ultimately, here's my take on this exchange. Defense and prosecution in this exchange both end up quibbling over a lot of nothing. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter who, and I put it down to one, like just one speed for that last little bit. It doesn't really matter who lands a punch here because all of this shit is meaningless. I think at the end of this, it was just nobody wins this exchange because this witness doesn't matter. Like that's kind of it. Like Brennan could have landed something, but Brennan kind of wasted his day today. His day today was basically, I mean, he basically gave the jury a day off of having to think about this trial. And I guess maybe the jury will appreciate that, but nothing momentous happened today. That's it. That's our summary. They engage in like a pissing match with this guy, and I don't think it matters worth a shit. Just at all. So that's kind of our day 3 and 4, right? There's not a lot that actually matters over that other than the part we can't see, because the jury might have been significantly affected by that, but we'll see. Somebody says, what do I think the outcome is going to be? The prosecution is doing better this time than the last time, but we have not seen any of the critical fireworks yet. All of the big shit is yet to come. We haven't seen Proctor. We haven't seen Higgins. We haven't seen any of those guys. And that's what I want to see. Like, everyone's like, how do you think this is going to go? I'm like, show me Proctor. Show me how that goes. And then I'll tell you what I think on this one. I don't like right now. The prosecution is playing slow witnesses, not as slow as Lolly did, because Lolly was like, "Let me tell you again about the snow." We'll see. Brennan is by far the better lawyer than Lolly. By far the better lawyer. Brennan is way better than Lally. And so that creates a danger for the defense. But the defense case is also changed because Trooper Proctor has become massively more toxic. So I'm looking to see what's going on there. But I want to see some of those witnesses. I want to see Proctor. I want to see their new reconstruction guy. I want to see all of that stuff. And until we get there, I don't know. So let's go through Super Chats here. Oh, and I owe you guys a swoop before we go to Super Chats. I don't know if I told you, but just before that little clip was filmed, I tried to play tug with the elf and Pot, like the little elf toy that he's got there, and Potter was like, "Nope," and he's just like, we're not pulling on this toy. You can just have it if you're pulling on it. And then I was like, okay, and so I gave him the elf toy back, and he's sort of looking at me like, "Please don't hurt Mr. Elf." He's Yeah, he loves his toys. He's so such a sweetheart there. But his eyebrows are. You're not going to take the elf away again, are you? All right, so we're going to go through super chats, and then we're going to bounce over to Friday Night Frenzy. So Sandy says, yes, please. That was to the Potter thing. Sandy says, I must have more of the floofs. I'm going to record more of them. Lady Draconis, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Much appreciated. Laura Christine, always up for new Potter swoops. I got to get a new, I got a GoPro harness for the dogs, but Zora ripped through it in like 0 seconds. So I got to get a new one, and then I can take them to the off-leash park and get some Zora running around stuff. Joy W, woohoo, extra runkle. Thank you. Kitariali or Kitaralil. There we go. Thank you for the YouTube membership. That's a tough name. Donnie, not Osmond. Thank you for the YouTube membership. Good clarification. Holistic therapist. Friday night in Boston watching the Runkle. Pray for us here in the Commonwealth. I don't know how you do it. Michelle Maynard. Potter. Yeah. He's such a good boy. Melissa Feeney. Can you talk about the Hockey Canada mistrial redo? Yes. So for the people who are not familiar with this case, there are a bunch of youth hockey players who have been charged with SA. 5 of them. It's actually a really complicated case because their defense is she was consenting. She was, in fact, eager. She says that's not true. So that is going to be a fun, and I say fun with the deepest of sarcasm. It's going to be an absolute mess. But they opened the trial. The prosecution had opening statements. Defense had opening statements. And they were going to call their first witness. And a mistrial was declared. So I don't know why there was a mistrial. But there's going to be a do-over. They're looking for new jurors because do-over. So I don't know what's going on there. But that's all we really know there. DSN, thank you for the membership. Much appreciated. Loney, Pro Bono Fund, applying to law school and greatly enjoy your content. Will you be live streaming any of the Karen Reed witnesses like Proctor or just recaps? I don't know if I'll live stream Proctor, but we may watch Proctor in full in the recap. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Linda Santiago, love the peppers. I think that's puppers, but also the peppers. I love your live streams. Thanks. Thank you. Lauren Wilson, first time catching a live. I'm glad to be here. Glad to have you here as well. Love the channel. Keep fighting the good fight, Runkle. Thank you so much. Patty Hoffman, Potter. Potter is a cute dog. Vez from Quebec with grave concern. Of course, I want to see the Potter swoop. Just got back home from 2 days of convention in Quebec City and leaving again Sunday. Crazy time. Potter also is, he's a sweet dog, but he doesn't like being caught being sweet. So I went to have a nap the other day, and when I went to have the nap, when I got into the bed, Potter was in the bed, and he got up and left. And so Potter was like, check, please. I'm not, I don't want to do this. And then, but then after I was asleep, Potter got back into the bed and he was like snuggled up against me. So he's like, I want the snuggles. I just don't want the snuggles while you're awake, which now just makes Potter sound creepy, but he's a cute dog. Potter swoop. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Thank you, Jamie F. Casey Cat. She didn't want a gown because she had her monthly menses that had leaked all over and she had a colostomy bag at the time. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Lita Randolph, I went to the ER for psych help and they told me to change into a gown. I said I didn't want to as my symptoms weren't physical. They asked if I wanted to undress in front of the doctor. How sick. That is gross, Lita, and I'm sorry that happened to you. DSN, great mods and great host. What more could we ask for? Thank you so much. I'm thinking autocorrect did some damage to that, but thank you. Kimchi, certified dog bite expert. Being involuntarily committed and forced to go through that routine of undressing and putting on the gown is a really violating experience for lots of people, legality notwithstanding. Witness sucks. Yep. Brentwood Chic, I want to see Potter. I can play Potter again. Millie Vashino, thank you for the YouTube membership. Much appreciated. Salty and Cyanotic, Potter, thank you. And then Potter. We have Yanetti's IC count is much lower so far. Yeah, they've all kind of worked on their little quirks. Sue LW65, did they have a warrant to get her blood or urine? They didn't need one. She was sectioned. So they didn't have a warrant. The World Wonders. Sorry, it's actually Yanetti's, of course, count. We all have little verbal tics. Shay B, this is like Nuttall saying that his memory is better now than it was in 2022. Anytime you hear a witness say that, it means they're full of crap. Cal Marie, I don't have anything profound to say. I'm just here for the boom emoji. I'm going to work on that. Sandy, I'm all about the boom. Thank you. Victorine, all about the boom. I think we hit that goal. I'm going to have, yes, we did. I'm going to have to make the boom. Boom, shakalaka. We'll make a boom emoji. Phoenix Paw, I'm here for the new boom and to annoy Runkle for saying he doesn't like getting super chats. Thank you, Phoenix Paw. Jessica Billart, I wouldn't be able to keep a poker face. I hear ya. CS Tears, Yannetti found someone to take his grievances out, lol, about the videos. Yeah, he does get to do some yelling. Joy W, I think the jury might find this too much. This witness isn't that important. There was a little bit of running hot at witnesses who don't matter that much. Tekka Demiraklol. Hey, Runkle, are you planning on joining Rob's stream on this trial? He's starting in 40 minutes or so. Yes, he started like 40 minutes ago. Brentwood Cheek, count 2 will be hard for Karen Reed to beat due to her interviews, in my humble opinion, but I hope she does. We'll see. Casey Cat, Yannetti was softer in the first trial. I think he and Karen have gotten closer, and he's losing objectivity. Maybe. I think he's weighing how he wants to come off. Tough Cookie, it's difficult to remember that we know a lot the jury doesn't or shouldn't know. Correct. Perry, catching up, EMS 24 years later, I defend no one. I protect my license and will not change the truth for my partner, fire, police, MD, or RN. Their problem. Thumbs up to you. Thumbs up to you. I appreciate the hell out of that. Tracy Sires, here's to adding to your supply. I think that was for the booze. Laura, in what world is Runkle unlikable? This one. Sandy, you're one of the most likable people I know. I am really sorry to hear that, Sandy. Liquid Sunshine, you took me out shooting when I went to Edmonton, and it was the highlight of my trip. You were so kind. I'm happy to go shooting. I got to get my ranged membership pass, though. Kimchi, you are not unlikable or even bad at social, in my opinion. I should be arranging. I got to get it scheduled, but I'm planning on arranging a meetup in Vancouver in July. So I got to get that scheduled. And I hope this trial is probably still going to be running. So I got to see how being in July works with this trial. So, yep. Kel Marie, I get it as a New Englander. We're naturally snarky, not good witness material. Karen Reed shouldn't testify. She might be a problem. David Craig, you're genuine and care. That counts for a lot. Thank you so much. Laura Leanne, you're super likable and genuine. Face it. Well, thank you. Joey Jones Donnelly, 290,000 subscribers tells me you're personable. I don't know why any of you are here, but I appreciate that you are, and I love having these chats. So, opposite of amnesia, hard to judge someone based only on seeing them at the worst time of their life or even their best. Give grace unless you know her personally, in my humble opinion. You're not wrong. Mostly harmless fuzzball for a new social battery charger. Yeah, mine is kind of frayed and the wires are sticking out. Casey Cat, it's been longer since John O'Keefe's death than she dated John O'Keefe. She's tired, stressed, and angry. She needs therapy, but can't. Commonwealth will subpoena her records. You're not wrong. There is an issue there. Equality. Sometimes when I'm done peopling, I stutter or say weird things, and I keep thinking about it all night for a week. I'm sure many people do that. I feel you. Gwynny Bly, I'm a live sub from the Johnny Depp era. Good to see you. Just because I still don't understand why Brennan asked Camerano's age. That seems so completely irrelevant. You often ask very basic, just intro questions just to get a witness to start talking. Yeah, nobody objects to them. Watching the only thing I care about with Guarino is that he's not in jail. Shouldn't obstruction of justice and covering up a murder put you in jail? Disgrace. We'll see how that trial goes. So, yep, the Birchmore trial. DJ Taint, dating advice from Uncle Runkle sounds like a great new channel. I barely have time for this one. I have been neglecting role of law in the worst way. Wendy, Pro Bono Fund, love your coverage and practical examples. Thank you so much. Mr. Meathook, simple. Karen trying to rekindle. John wanted out, but he didn't have the balls to cut the cord. See it all the time. Yep. Minty Fret, Karen Reed does seem honest, though. I get the sense that John O'Keefe as well. I get the sense that he liked keeping her kind of on the dangle, that he liked pushing her away and pulling her back and pushing her away, but I don't know. I'm just guessing. AG, it's important to remember that the producers and said that Karen Council themselves reached out to them. They didn't let her talk. They asked her to. They kind of needed the exposure, but the exposure can also kill them. Jin VR, we could do with the jury being able to bring a guilty verdict on a corrupt judge. That's not how that works. Lynn Britton, so I'm late. We had a date at home. Thanks for being you. Thank you. Subsu 73, thank you so much. Shay B, Ian and Rob live at the same time, soon on the same channel. That's where I'm popping to next. Sammy is random. Love being here, even on days we disagree. And that's the thing is, I hope people are able to, to disagree politely. I have people sometimes in my chat who are like, hey, I think Karen Reed is guilty. And I'm like, cool. I don't, I'm not opposed to the fact that some people can believe that, so long as you're able to discuss it reasonably and, not troll over it. Just, you can express views. That's not a problem. So, yep. Marvin CZ, I got to roll this. Thank you for the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you. And Sweet Lorraine, will you cover Hockey Canada SA trial when back? That trial is taking place across the country, and so I can't easily go to court to watch it, and we don't live stream trials here, so I can't actually cover it much. But yeah. In terms of in terms of all of people are like, where do you come in? I'm like, I don't think she was hit by a car. I don't think they've proven to me that she's been hit by a car. And if I have reasonable doubt on was she hit by a car, then I obviously have to have reasonable doubt on was she hit by Karen Reed's car, right? Because I have reasonable doubt on was he hit by any car. So if I'm not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that John O'Keefe was hit by a car, I have some issues there. So I don't see it. I don't understand how that works. So, yep. All right. So let's wrap this up here and this stream. I'm going to pop over to Rob. There'll probably be a few minutes delay while I go do some secret things, and yeah, I'll be there shortly, but you guys, hopefully if you are watching this on YouTube, it should send you there directly. So see you guys soon. So redirect is set up, so it should send you right there. So